corazón. Yo te creí la luz de mis días y quedé solo con mi dolor. Yo que por ti daba hasta mi vida, me fui muriendo por tu traición. Al darme cuenta que me mentías y que era de otro tu corazón. Porque eres falsa, como moneda de plástico. Te aprovechas de mí, porque fui siempre un romántico. Eres falsa, como moneda de plástico. Mentirosa, yo ya no creo en tu llanto. Con una sola de tus caricias me enamoraste. Con la primera de tus mentiras me destrozaste. Eres falsa, como moneda de plástico. Mentirosa, yo ya no creo en tu llanto. Sin importar que te di mi vida, me abandonaste sin compasión. Te fuiste a un mundo de fantasía y quedé solo con mi dolor. Pero este mundo que gira un día ha de traerte junto a mi amor. Y para entonces, querida mía, ya será de otra mi corazón. Porque eres falsa, como moneda de plástico. Te aprovechas de mí, porque fui siempre un romántico. Eres falsa, como moneda de plástico. Mentirosa, yo ya no creo en tu llanto. Con una sola de tus caricias me enamoraste. Con la primera de tus mentiras me destrozaste. Porque eres falsa, como moneda de plástico. Te aprovechas de mí, porque fui siempre un romántico. Eres falsa, como moneda de plástico. Mentirosa, yo ya no creo en tu llanto.
Right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. Welcome to a brighter day. Don't you know it feels good to be alive? You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah. And times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you. The door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today. Learn the part and join the play. The world is here. Let's take it for a ride.
Good morning, everybody. Rob, how you doing? Dan, how you doing? Sam, I'm going to tell the story this morning for people beyond you who are going to want to know, so I don't have to keep rewriting it or repeating it. And then we'll see how it goes. All right. So if you haven't heard, I had a heart attack. And I'm going to explain the whole thing for those of you preparing to have one yourself. You'll know what to expect. All right, so it all started back in, probably started March of last year. And then probably again in October. There's no way to know, for me to know, But it appears now that I might have had a heart attack last March and then last October. And it was considered to be something else. Or maybe not. I don't know. So we're going to set that aside. We're going to talk about this one. So Sunday night, around 6:30, I get this weird thing. I this lump in my throat, and I can tell because it's happened quite a few times now, if my blood pressure goes crazy, like over 200 something. And so I had that feeling, and I don't know how to describe it. Somebody asked me yesterday, and I have to give it more thought. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's almost a surreal thing. But everything hurts. You can't get comfortable. It's just a miserable feeling. It feels like death. If you can imagine what it feels like as you're going to die, that's what it feels like. So I got that Sunday night, and I sat down and just kind of chilled, and it went away. I said, all right, well, that's cool. And you get to be an old fossil, things happen. Well, 3:00 in the morning, I slept a little bit, and 3:00 in the morning, I got up and, I don't know, puttered around. I don't remember what I did, probably answered some emails or whatever. And at 4:00, I made myself my cup of coffee. At 4:30, I got hit with the high blood pressure thing again, only this time I got this severe pain on the inside of my left arm. Pain like it was in a vice and they were squeezing it to the point where my bone was going to break. It was a really strong pain. They kept asking me at the hospital, what about your chest? Well, I didn't feel anything in my chest at all. And a little bit on the side of my chest near the arm. But what really hurt was the arm. And I couldn't sit down. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't. It was terrible. And I wasn't sure what to do, but I knew it was serious. So I called, messaged Sharik, she's in Kauka, and I said, this is what's going on, because she has the numbers for my medical policy. And so she called them, and they arrived soon after, two of them. One was a doctor, one was, I guess, a medical technician, nurse. I'm not sure how they categorize them here. They arrived, came in, hooked me up to a EKG machine with all the little leads everywhere, and did the blood pressure thing, which was I don't remember how much it was, to be honest with you. It was way over 200. That I know. So they did that and said right away, you're having a heart attack. And they gave me 3 baby aspirins of 100 milligram. They're 100 milligram. 3 orange flavored baby aspirins, told me to chew those up. They contacted to get an ambulance here. They put me in it was a gurney, but they sat it up like a chair. And, everybody's running away that already heard the story. They sat it up like a chair, put me in it, wheeled me into the elevator, downstairs, out to the ambulance. They were trying to figure out how to get me in the ambulance because the way things were positioned, I just got up and went in the side door and sat on the gurney. And then they took me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, the guys that were in my room, well, when the ambulance came, there was a great big guy and some little woman, and they were the ambulance people. And so there were 4 people in my apartment at that point. Then in the ambulance, went to the hospital. They wheeled me into a place that triage made sense. except they had already triaged me, so I was just sitting there waiting. So,
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
so when my Alexa went off, and I just said the
I'm not
name,
quite sure how to help you with that.
and so yeah, so anyway, the two people that had come to my apartment to begin with, they gave me the EKG strip, said hang on to that. And they waited until there was a team that they had already contacted. And there were 4 people that came over in the group in total. I had to think back over it. There were 7 people in total. Most of the time, there were 2 to 4 people with me over what I'm going to tell you. So anyway, they did a handoff. They introduced me to them and how are you doing? Da 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 da. Where's the pain? At that point, that was all in Spanish. So then they wheeled me down a hall and into a room. There was one other person in this room, and they hooked me up again to the EKG monitors and the blood pressure monitor and the finger oxygen thing. And they started hooking up different IV. I had several. They would put the things, those little plastic valves. There was one here. There was one here. There was a wicked one here. They went into me here. There was one here later. Everywhere there's bruises, you'll see that kind of bruise. There's a couple here. There's a couple here. Those are from shots. I found out it feels like a wasp sting, but it's an anticoagulant. So they gave me that. They gave me a handful of pills, asked me questions. They kept doing this monitor thing. And then they said they're going to take me down to the operating room area, which is where they do the stents. So they didn't cut me open. Well, kind of in a bunch of places, but they didn't cut my heart open. But there's an operating room. It's that wing. It said they're going to wheel me down, but first they have to get my blood pressure down because they can't do it as high as it is. And at that point, my blood pressure was still over 200. And so we're talking some hours now. And so they put some kind of shot into the IV, and all this stuff that they were doing was supposed to bring my blood pressure down. And I said, well, how long? They said, well, typically 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll go right down there. They're ready for us. So I will say that they cooperated, but just my blood pressure wasn't. So then I ended up sitting there for 3 hours as they kept pumping drugs in me. And I don't even, it's kind of a blur. It seemed like every few minutes they were coming at me. They took blood samples, of course, and things like that. So it was like, even though it was 3 hours, it seemed like there was constantly things going on. They were checking my blood pressure like every couple minutes. It was driving me crazy. So anyway, they finally get to a point where they said, okay, we can take you down. So they took me down, and the doctor came over, and he actually spoke English. And I thought it was kind of funny. I had a hunch. I asked him, I said, well, where did you go to med school? U.S. And I mentioned this before on Coffee Time, where every doctor that I meet seems to get their medical training in the United States. But when I was in the U.S., when I had cancer and that kind of thing, it's like every doctor I ran into seemed to get their training like in India or some other place. Anyway, so his English was great the first time, although it hadn't been an issue up until then. And he explained, what they were going to do. They're going to go into my leg or possibly my arm, and they're going to look around and see what's what. And whatever they can repair, they're going to repair. So, bear with me a second here. Okay. Rob and Dan, hello. I was just checking the chat. So, had me wait there. I was actually just right in the hall, right outside the room. And it wasn't very long. I don't know how long it was. I was, I don't know. I felt like I was kind of in shock, but it was all this medication and high blood pressure. I don't think it's very good to have high blood pressure that high for that many hours because I hurt everywhere. From my head to my toes hurt. So anyway, we go in and they get me off the gurney onto this metal table that had this ultra thin, like little pad on it. And I'll try to describe it. Over me is this white arch, kind of came over and like that. It reminded me of a gyroscope because there was something off to the side, and then there was this. And on this arch was this box about this big, a square box, about so thick, and that was up there. So they gave me a local anesthetic, and it worked. For some reason, local anesthetics very often don't work very well for me and sometimes take 2 or 3. But this was the first one, and shortly after, he was digging around in there. He was going. I couldn't really feel it. Of course, inside your body, you don't have nerves anyway, so you don't feel that. But so I saw later, it's this very small, almost like a cable. There was a little wrapping on it. I only got a glimpse of it. They try to keep you from seeing it for whatever reason. So anyway, there I am. He's up there. He's looking around. What I didn't realize is he went in and out and in and out. I thought the whole thing was just like a trip up and then trip back, but it wasn't that way. When he got up in there, I could feel when he was putting these stents in because he was like doing something like that down here on my arm, like he was popping it in. I don't know. I mean, that's a guess, but I could feel that kind of activity going on. And I mean, it wasn't hard or anything. It didn't hurt. I could just feel the motions like that. And while all of this is going on, this box is like in the arch. The whole thing is like, like that. And I've said this several times. It reminded me of an episode of Star Trek. It was kind of strange, but what else did they do? They told me that what they were going to do is typically maybe 15 minutes. And if everything goes well, I could actually go home soon after. Well, I was in there on that table for an hour and a half. At that point, my back was freaking killing me. I had been on the gurneys, and I'd been from the time they came to my place, and after I got out of that chair in the ambulance and laid down on that gurney, I had not gotten up off a gurney. I'd laid flat on my back from about maybe 8 a.m. And when all this was going on, we were probably about 4 o'clock. And my back doesn't like that, doesn't like laying on my back. And I couldn't get comfortable. You can't move. And I actually kind of cocked over to one side, and the nurse started yelling at me about it. And but it was just killing me. As a matter of fact, the pain in my back at that moment was worse than everything else that was going on. But, it's like you got to go through it. So I just ignore it. Let's keep going. And so hour and a half, and he finished up, and they wheeled me back out to the same spot that I was sitting in before. And maybe 15, 20 minutes, that same doctor came out and he said that, well, I'll explain to you what's going on. And he made it short and sweet. And it was a lot sweeter than it turns out the reality is once I looked the papers over. But he said that they put in 2 stents. There's another one that is completely blocked. And then there's a smaller one after that they want to take care of those other 2, but they couldn't take care of them then because of the danger of doing them at that time. So they said they have to reschedule in a month, and then they'll do those. And then once that's done, I should be feeling back to normal. I'm not right now. I got out of the hospital yesterday, and I'll get to that, how long and all that. But I feel weak. I feel winded. But so he said that's what they did, and he gave me an envelope here, and it was full of their records of what they did. They also gave me a CD disc that has whatever that machine was. It has all the pictures and through the whole thing. I don't know what that was, but there was ultrasounds that were done. There was X-ray at some point. Anyway, they put all this stuff on this disc for me. I don't think it's for my viewing pleasure. I think it's to, have a record of this. I don't know, in case anything ever goes wrong. There's proof, or maybe if you want a second opinion. I also got this thing that registers. It's got a little barcode there. The stints with Boston something elite in Bogota. So these actually apparently are serialized and registered. Boston Scientific in Bogota. No, Boston Scientific Promus Elite trademark, whatever. So anyway, he gave me that stuff, and he said that now you're going to go up to ICU, and we decided we're going to keep you for 24 hours for observation. Okay. My blood pressure is still too high, and I found out later that's what was keeping me in the hospital. They did get it down around that point. It was down around 160 or 170 over something. So anyway, they wheel me up to ICU. In ICU, I got this, you get private room up there, and you got all the same machines and hookups and stuff like that. And they hover over you to the point where it's like, stop bothering me. But they're constantly coming in, giving me shots, taking blood, all day, all night, 24 hours a day. I couldn't sleep anyway, but it's if you could, they would keep waking you up. So I figured it out. So I was watching the machine as time goes on to see if this blood pressure was coming down. And so I was there for 24 hours. I was expecting to go home, and they said, no, we're keeping you another 24 hours. It's, come on. And, but they were very concerned about my situation. And I'm not in their head. I don't quite know. All I could figure out was I know the blood pressure was an issue. They were asking me a lot of questions that made me think that they were seeing if I was having a stroke. I forget the questions now, but, having a headache, my vision, I don't remember, but I don't think it's important, but I think they're worried about that. So I don't know. Some of you who end up watching this know about this stuff. Maybe you know better. My Spanish, turns out it was passable. I mean, I managed to function. But that means that doesn't mean I caught everything. They have a weird thing in their ICU. You have to strip off all your clothes. You don't even wear those little open back jammies. You just lay on the bed naked. But then, and it was like, is there any more humiliation to this? They require everybody to wear adult diapers. What the hell is that about? I mean, one person one day had some accident and now everybody has to pay for it. I mean, I don't know. But the female nurse comes in and she's hiking me up. She comes in and she gives me a sponge bath. So I said, okay, well, that's cool. It's like roll over position, this, that. And it's like, all right, that's nice. Then she proceeds to put a diaper on me. It's like, oh man, it was not one of my finest moments. So they get the diaper on. They've kind of made the bed up better. And when they do that, they make sure that everything's all closed off. At least you get privacy. And so, excuse me, catch my breath. I found myself short of breath from all this. So, hold on. Naked adult diaper sponge baths. Yeah, it was pretty weird. So then what? Yeah, it was just endless cycle. They would bring me food. The food, it wasn't bad food. It's like the first thing I had Tuesday morning was an arepa with cheese, a little cup with watermelon cubes, and a little cup, like those little Dixie cup things, of a juice that didn't really have any flavor. It was a fruit juice, but I think it was just so watered down. I was really nauseous. So that's another thing. That symptom during all that stuff was nausea too. I was too nauseous. I took a bite out of the arepa, but they were your nasty kind, not the good ones. And I couldn't do more. The watermelon was awesome. I scarfed that down. I could have eaten 10 of those. And I drank the juice just because I really hadn't anything to drink. They don't want you to dehydrate, but they don't really want you drinking fluids, apparently. I tried to get water a couple times, and they would only give me like a little half a Dixie cup when it came time to do the pills and stuff. So anyway, so I'm in there, and I'm expecting to go home now, and they said, no, we're keeping you another day. So now I'm under 48-hour observation. So the next, and I could repeat all these same things. The lunch and dinners were actually pretty good. Very, 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 very tiny amounts, but the best part was the soups. They were awesome. And then on the second day, there was some kind of like a pulled pork that had a charcoal flavor to it. Pulled pork with some kind of, I can't really say a sauce, but there was something on there that, like a touch hint of sauce. That was awesome. So anyway, the food wasn't anything to write home about. You barely eat when you're in there. I'm sure that makes sense. I mean, I didn't have to poop, but I did have to pee a lot not because I was drinking water, but because at one point I had 4 IVs going. Maybe that's why they didn't give you water. Maybe because you're getting so many fluids otherwise. And so that caused me to need to pee about every 4 or 5 hours. And so they give you this little stainless steel holdy thing. And so you got to pee in bed. You just turn on your side and pee into the thing and set it up, and they come and bring you another one. None of this stuff is like great for your ego. All right, so did the 48 hours. The next morning, nurse comes in. Nurse comes in. These people were always coming in, doctors and nurses, and constant. So anyway, she comes in. I said, like I'd been asking every day, do I get to go home now? And she said, yep, today's the day. Oh man, great. And what was really bothering me the most are all these pin cushions. I mean, if I got to have the shots and all that stuff so I don't have blood clots and a stroke, and hey, I'm all for it. It's like that's what you got to do. But having these things, stuck in your arm, if you do fall asleep, you roll over. It's a needle that's on that plastic thing, and it wakes you up because it hurts. And that was a constant thing. I'd move my arm and I'd bang it into something, and and it's like I mean, that's why you get bruises like that from it, because you're not moving. And when you have so many hooked up, it's pretty difficult to be careful, because you be careful of two of them, but maybe one of the other two get caught on something. That was another thing, the little plastic tubes. I had an oxygen thing. I had all these electrodes. I had the blood pressure thing. I had the finger thing. Then I had the IVs coming out of me. So you got all these endless tubes and wires and things, hanging off you. Now I got to pee. I got to roll over and pee into this tin cup. It's, and the mattress in the ICU is terrible. You kind of sink into it and it would grip you. And so rolling on your side wasn't a simple matter of rolling on your side. You had to actually kind of lift yourself up in turn. It wasn't like a normal situation. Like in my bed, I can just roll on my side. On that particular mattress, you can't. And so you got to kind of grip these arm rails and kind of lift yourself up a little bit and get on your side. And when you're doing that, you're pulling all these tubes and cables and things. That's why I wanted to get the hell out of there. I was just, oh my God, it was driving me crazy. But anyway, so I'm all excited, and they bring me lunch, and they take off a couple of they took off this one and this one and this one. They left this one. So what the hell are you leaving that one for? Well, because we're going to move you up to the 6th floor. Well, why are you going to move me up to the 6th floor? I'm going home today. Oh, no, you're not going home today. You're just moving out of ICU. My blood pressure had come down. I'd watched it. And so during that 48 hours, when I started watching it, it was 170 something. Then it would go down to 160 something, up to 170. It was set every, I think, 20 minutes. So 24 hours, I'm watching this thing. And then you get down to 150, 160, 150, 148. So it was slowly coming down, but it was taking hours to do it. And when they decided they're going to put me up at the top, my blood pressure had come down to, I think the last one I saw in the ICU was like 121/92 or something like that, somewhere along those lines. And so they put me upstairs, and so they wanted to see, and they told me, you're going to be 3 days up there. All right. So I talked to this one guy, Mario, he didn't speak English, but we were having a little, he would take a few moments to chat when he was around, where everybody was pretty busy. He would take a few minutes. So, we'd had some conversations. So I asked him, I said, well, what are the rooms like up there? Because of the, peeing in the cup and all this stuff, it's like, I don't want to be in a group home, with all this kind of stuff going on. Yeah. So he said, well, the room is you and one other person. So I said, do they have private rooms? He goes, well, let me go check. So he comes back and says, yes, they have a private room. It costs the equivalent of about $50. And it's not just a private room. It comes with a list of benefits. It's a VIP thing. So I won't go through the list of benefits and stuff. And what I really wanted to do is, things were touch and go, and I was not feeling great. And they had given me enough reason to be concerned about what was going on, particularly since it wasn't like I was healed. The worst of what is going on with my heart isn't even done yet. So, so having another heart attack is more than a real possibility. Having a stroke, these things that, they're there, until they get the rest of this done. That's the situation. And I'm aware of that. So I'm thinking, look, if I'm going to go, I'm going to do it in my own room with my own bathroom. So I said, I'll take it. So a guy comes down and he took my, he said, credit or debit. And I said, well, debit. Later, I'm thinking, shit, I could have got miles on my credit card and then just paid anyway. So I go up and the room was pretty nice, and it was big, and it had a couch in it and a chair. It had a really comfortable bed. It had like a normal kind of mattress. In the bed, of course, it moves in a lot of different ways. You do get, I think, some special or maybe more personalized care. And I'll speak to the care that I got a little later if I remember. Maybe you guys will have to remind me. Because some of you, if you're here or if you're thinking about moving here, you probably want to know these things, which is why I'm doing this. What's it like? How are you treated? How professional do they seem? How is it equipped? And so here we go. All right. So, the bathroom was bizarre. So, nice big shower. You get a chair in the shower. I didn't know about that. But the toilet had no toilet seat, but it has like a little, the kitchen sink dish sprayer. It has one of those attached to it. I guess like a manual bidet or something. It was miles on a credit card for a heart attack. Well, what the hell, I thought of that later and say, oh shit, I should have put it on there. There's, I try to put everything on there, and then in that moment I forgot. So anyway, yeah, I'm getting ready to die, so I don't want to run up any debt. So the room was nice, and to be honest, being in that room by myself, to be able to get in and out of bed, walk to the bathroom, sit on the couch. Oh, it had a TV and Wi-Fi too. I didn't watch TV. But to be able to do those things without cables and things, it was great. And it was worth every penny. So they still come in, they're giving me pills and they're doing the blood pressure, but they only did that twice the day I got there, I think it was. And of course they're doing every day they did blood tests, and every day they did the prick thing, the sugar thing. They do that to you. All the basic tests everybody gets. It's like, whether you need it or not. So you get all the basic ones anyway. Yeah, my sugar's okay, but they're going to keep doing that anyway. So the amount of pills, the amount of drugs that I have to take right now, it's really insane. see if if I have that list here. Thought I had a copy of it here. Oh, maybe I don't. It's a very long list. There's nine different pills. Some you have to take twice a day. Like this one pill you take at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Then you've got another pill, you take that one at 8 a.m. Then this one, you take 2 of these at 2 in the afternoon. And it's like, and when I was down with the English speaking doctor way back, he told me that when I get the prescriptions, it'll have times and be sure I go by the times. He didn't say why. I mean, does it really matter if the 8 p.m. you take along with the 7 p.m.s? Apparently it does. And so I'm going to try to do that, but there's so many of them and none of them are the same way. Like you take 2 of these, you take 1 of these, they're all different times. It's a little crazy. Hold on. Sinking down there. All right. So I'm in the regular hospital room. People being real nice to me. Next day, yesterday, was it yes? Yeah, yesterday. It's all blur. Thursday, yesterday. Another doctor comes in and he was telling me when they release me, what I need to, I actually have to schedule the appointment through the EPS for the next procedure. And so he was just telling me different stuff. And his name is Barbosa. I go, wait a minute. That's not Colombian. So I said, you're not Colombian. And he said, no. I said, well, where's that name from? He said, Portugal. I'm from Portugal. Oh, okay. So a Portuguese doctor. And he says, I'm sorry, my English is not very good. Well, it's pretty damn good. I didn't even catch on that he had an accent until he said that. And then I realized that he had an accent because, it's not Spanish that he speaks. Well, I'm sure he does, but he speaks it with a Portuguese accent. So anyway, I asked him, I said, well, can't you guys set that up with EPS? Because, it's like, I just don't deal with it. I said, well, maybe communication. He says, well, let me check. I never heard from him again, but I did get a message saying that you have to set it up. Oh, also, after I got to the hospital and I was checked in, I'll say a couple things here. I got a text message telling me from the SURA, the insurance company, saying that we've been notified, you're at the hospital, everything's approved. You don't have to worry about anything. I said, well, that was nice. Also, when I was there, I didn't have to do insurance forms or anything like that. On your ID, your national ID, your cedula number, you give that every step of the way. And when they put that in their system, apparently everything comes up. And so they contact your insurance and say, tell them what's happening. They go ahead and get the approvals and all of that. Another thing that was very noticeable is that, yes, there's an insurance company involved, but at no point did a doctor, because I asked 2 of the doctors. I dealt with 4 doctors in total. I asked 2 of them about this, and they both said, when they decide to do a procedure, when they decide to have me come back, when they decide to keep me in ICU, all of those things, they don't have to get permission to do those things. The decision here, at least with Sura, is the doctors make the decision, but they do give you a courtesy. This is what we plan to do. Do you agree with that? Well, what the hell do I know? I'm not a doctor. You're kind of at people's mercy when this stuff is going on. But that's the way it goes. So it's between you and your doctor of whether they're going to keep you for observation. If they decide they wanted to keep me for a week in ICU, they can just do that. And I knew that. I've talked about this in Coffee Time before, of how the insurance works here. It's not a third-party administrated type of situation. But now seeing it firsthand, somebody wrote me and mentioned something about the extremes I'll go to do a video firsthand, like renting this place, going through an agent. Well, now I go ahead and get a heart attack just so I can talk about what it's really like. All right, so that's good news. I did talk a little bit about what's going on with the insurance industry, and everybody in that hospital hates what's going on. But on the other hand, if you have Sura, they're so wealthy, and they're so wealthy beyond Columbia, that they're basically able to ignore these things that are going on. That two of the insurance companies in Columbia have been put out of business. But Sura they're kind of immune. Now, Sura announced last year, because of what the president was doing, that they were going to withdraw from the EPS system. And they haven't. They're still in the EPS system because I think it was kind of like maybe a game of chicken or a wait and see. But the bottom line is they can afford to wait this out, apparently. Their bills all get paid, and like in my case, everything was fine. And you can tell in the hospital that they're happy when somebody has Sura insurance. How'd you sleep last night? I didn't. I fell asleep for about an hour in the chair this morning. Because the truth of it is, the whole time I was in the hospital, I had this oxygen thing, except in the private room. And in the private room that night, I struggled to sleep because if I laid down, I couldn't catch my breath. And so I kept sitting up. And I tried to sleep sitting up, but it's this rolly table that they put your lunch on. So I'd lean on it and it would slide out from under me. So that really sucked. And here it was the same. I went to bed. I don't think I was even there 15 minutes. I had to get up. I felt like I was suffocating. I couldn't catch my breath. I didn't have this before, but it's to the point where, where people get those little oxygen bottles. And I'm actually going to ask about that today because if I can't breathe when I'm trying to sleep, because this is what it'll do. It's, try to catch up with it. It's like I can breathe in, but it's not giving me the oxygen, which is surprising me. I didn't know how I do talking like this. It's affecting me. I mean, you can tell, you can hear, but it's okay. So sleep is definitely an issue. I'm feeling weak. I feel very weak. I don't know if that's because I just went through 4 days of, constant jabs, and that anticoagulant is just terrible. It's just awful. I've got 4 of those. It burns. It's like they're pumping you with some kind of acid. Do you think you lost some pounds over the last few days? I don't know. I never think about that or worry about that. Or probably, I've barely eaten anything, but I don't really know. Maybe it's made up with all the stuff they pumped into me. I really don't know. Okay, so where are we? We're yesterday. We're up to yesterday. So the Portuguese doctor, they're telling me they're going to let me go. I have to get with EPS to lose kilos. Well, maybe we all don't lose kilos. Maybe it's less than that. But anyway, maybe it's just grams. Let's see what happened next. Came in, did another blood test before I went. They pricked my finger again. Came in with another bunch of pills, and then I said, and then they took this out finally, and I said, so when am I going to go? And she said 5 minutes. Oh crap! So Dan had brought me some t-shirts and underwear, because I could wear that in the private room. And I had already changed. I'd showered and changed and put clean stuff on. So I had to put my pants on, shoes, make sure I got gather everything up. And in 5 minutes, I didn't come back. So I just took my stuff and walked out in the hall. And she come running over. I think she was on her way back to me. And she says, wait. You can't walk. And all right. And then a guy comes along, and they had this huge wheelchair. If you lived in a wheelchair, this would probably be your fantasy wheelchair. It was really big. It was power operated. It had all kinds of accessories. Like if you had an IV, it's got this built-in thing for IVs, and it was really comfortable. It was nice and wide. So it was like a seat and a half almost. You could actually, slouch in it. So anyway, he wheels me down, and they were concerned. They were concerned about letting me go alone. They were concerned that there'd be nobody here. I must have been asked 1,000 times, do I have any family or anybody to look after me? It was every time I meet another person, they would ask me. And then some people would ask me 2 or 3 times over and over and over again. I really got tired of answering it, but that's a thing apparently. But they let me go. I was worried about it because they have such an emphasis on it. But I said, no, I'm going to take a taxi, and the taxi would drop me basically almost at the elevator, and so the guy who wheeled me down, he calls over a taxi. We're in a very busy area. It's right behind Parque Fundadores. It's a beautiful place. 4 or 5 years ago, I went with a friend to this building, and she had some tests done or something, and I did some videos there, and I talked about it. That's the place. It's, what's it called? Clínica Central de Quindío. Clínica, basically it means private hospital here. It's not like a clinic that you would think of, it's very well equipped, very nice inside. On the first floor, it has this beautiful coffee shop area, and it's just really nice. Rob, really fascinating hearing details of your ordeal. Thanks so much for sharing. Hey, no problem. I assume you're off and running. Rob's in Medellin on his retirement, and you're going to be here in a few days on the 15th. Oh, guess who got a hold? Rob, you still there? If you're still there, I'll tell you. Otherwise, nobody else will know what I'm talking about. Let me know if you're still there. I got something to tell you. So I got out. So is there anything else? The level of care. Yes, I'm here. Okay. Rob, do you remember Faisudi? I know you do. out of the blue, she gets a hold of me 2-3 days ago. And she's doing some kind of group camp here in Armenia on I think it's the 14th to the 20th. And so they go to a hacienda. She said it's like 1,000 people. Yep. It's like 1,000 people. But anyway, she wanted to stop in. I told her, I said, I really can't be writing right now. It was so hard. It was so hard. You wouldn't think that just sending some messages is difficult, but it was difficult. Trust me. So for a handful of people here that were constantly asking, that I know a little bit better than just normal, I put together a little group in WhatsApp so I could just say something one time and not have to keep repeating it, because I didn't want to ignore anybody. But on the other hand, when you're getting 20 messages asking you the same thing on the phone and you don't have the energy for even one of them, you got to do something. So anyway, she says she's going to be here. And so I told her what was going on. And she says, well, let me stop in and see you while I'm there. I said, okay. And then she said, if you need anything, I'm actually free until May 7th. So I can just stay there until May 7th and help you if you want. So I thought you might get a kick out of that, because no, 16th to the 20th. And then from then on, she's off the hacienda and she can come here and stay till May 7th. So she'll be here in Armenia, Rob, when you're here. You get here on the 15th. I guess we're gonna meet up on the 15th. So thought you might like that. All right, what else was I talking about? Ooh. little dizzy, oxygen deprived. When you're younger and you're invincible, you see people, sitting in their big armchair with a little oxygen bottle and breathing the thing, and you go, what the fuck? I don't ever want to do that. and now I can't believe how many people that I know that have reached out to me telling me how they had heart attacks and had stints and like this. Some 20 years younger than me. It's like, is this epidemic or what? I mean, I'm 71 and it hit me, but the truth is, last year when I went to emergency in March, and a viewer, if he ever sees this, he's going to say, I told you so. I went to the public emergency. See, the one I went to is the private hospital for Sura, because right from the beginning, I went through Sura. Last year, I didn't go through Sura. I just went to the public hospital. I took a taxi to the emergency and went in and went through their process. When they take my ID, they saw it was Sura, so they billed it to Sura, but I didn't go through Sura to do it. So anyway, last year in March, I'm in there and I had all the same symptoms, except I didn't have the pain in my arm or in my chest, but I had the crazy high blood pressure. Some of you may remember that. I was in shock. I put a picture of how high it was. I don't remember now, but it was insane. It was so high. I mean, it's like I should have been bursting vessels. It was ridiculously high. And they thought it was my heart, and they ran a bunch of EKGs in a row, and they checked my blood and all this kind of stuff. And they said, it's not your heart. You're strong as a horse. Heart isn't the problem. Your problem is this inflammation thing that I have struggled with. And so they gave me an IV thing for that. And when they did that, everything felt normal again. And so whatever it was certainly had an effect. And then he gave me a prescription that if this tries to come back, just take these. And that happened a couple times, and I took them and I felt better. So all right. So I accepted it for what it was. And then in October happened again. Rinse and repeat, all the same thing, same conclusion. Said that was what it was. Then after October, I went on that meat diet thing, and life got so much better. I had so much energy. Everything was great. I don't know what would have happened if I'd stayed on it, but I fell off it February, beginning of March, I think. Just, not much more than a month ago. Because I was really busy. The coffee thing, I've been chasing around, the shipping. By the way, the shipping, I think it gets sent today. It was supposed to Monday, but I was a little occupied. So we got through it, and it's in somebody's hands to go out. So I fell off it because I was too busy, and it takes effort, particularly if you're alone. It takes a lot of effort. It takes time. And so I said, to hell with it. So I just started grabbing whatever, and so I had carbs again. Well, I could tell my body was crashing because all that extra energy and good feeling, that kind of went away pretty quick. And all of a sudden my legs started swelling up. My feet started swelling up. I started being really tired. All the bad things that, would occur from time to time came back with a vengeance. I don't know what my weight is. What I do know, when I was doing the meat diet, my belt, I moved several notches over the course of those a little over 4 months, probably. My belt, I had to move several notches. And over the course of that 1 month where I fell off it, I not only had to put those 2 notches back, but I had to move one more. So it's like, I don't know. It's like I became bloated. And then the heart attack thing hit. So I don't know how all that interplays. I'm sure that there's rhyme or reason to all of it. And I'm not saying that if I'd stayed on the meat diet, I wouldn't have had a heart attack. I don't think that's the case, but I think all the fluids that rapidly gathered in my body probably had a lot to do with it hitting when it did. Also, when they went into me, when they were taking all those pictures and running the cables through me, I'm trying to find something here. Where the hell is it? Bear with me a second. Here it is. When they were doing all that, the doctor that was doing it was calling off to the other doctor different numbers. And another thing, my heart, they put they do get rid of the blockage, put the other stent in. My heart should return to normal. I'd said that, but there's a little more to that. They have every reason, because of everything that they saw, that my heart will return to strength. And I said, what do you mean strength? And he says, well, your heart's at a 35. He says it should be at a 55. I have no idea what those numbers mean. But he says you're about half of what it should be. Your heart has the strength, half of what it should be. And once they clear that, which is probably why I feel so tired, I don't know. But when they clear the blockage, he said it should return. If it doesn't, we may decide to put a pacemaker in, but they felt fairly confident that it probably would. Having 100% closed artery in my heart Probably not a good thing. And if they open that up, it probably will make me feel a lot better. But some of the things that there was a list of things that they found. This is what they found while they were in there. Let's see. They found something 6 millimeters without lesions, not significant. Descending anterior 4 millimeters with a lesion. Diagonal caliber 2.25 millimeters without lesions but significant. Diagonal 2.25 millimeters, lesion 90%. Says osteal. I don't know what osteal is. Another one, 3 millimeters, lesion 75% proximal. Another one, it says marginal, 2.25 millimeter lesion, 90% osteal. Another one, 2.25 millimeters lesion, 100% proximal chronic. That would be the plugged one, I imagine. Coronary artery, right side, 6 millimeters without lesions, but significant. And then, it's another one, 3.5 millimeter lesion, 50%. 2.2, another one, 2.25, 99%. So these are all the things that they found. I asked the doctor, I said, all right, you told me you did 2 stents and you got one bad one, the root of all evil to clean out. And then you've got a small one that's right near it. So you're going to do it and you don't have plans to do any more. But I'm looking at this and saying, what about all the rest of these? What do these amount to? And he said, well, we probably could stent several others, but the ones beyond that, they don't feel that there's any threat to them. They don't think there's any problem with them. They can just be ignored. Maybe because I'm 71, I'm not going to live to 150. I don't know. But they said, depending on how it goes with the others, they could stent, maybe 1 or 2 more, but they can only do it for so long. It's like if the other takes a while, they can't just keep hanging in there, apparently. That's why they had to cut it short for me the last time. They would have preferred to just do it all at once, but I said, well, why didn't you? He said, because you would have died. Oh, okay, well, kind of operation was a success, but the patient didn't make it. So, see, I think that's the extent of it. It's the basic information. So, the heart attack was a terrible experience. The treatment was a good experience. I will say, of all the people that I interacted with and the way they do it with groups of people, I met a lot of people. But there were 3 nurses that were just assholes, all young female. And they were all just control freaks and just obnoxious and big egos. I am woman, hear me roar. Just 3 out of probably a couple dozen people I dealt with. And this one that was particularly obnoxious, I mean, I got angry with her, and I don't even get angry, but she kept trying to push me. I needed to sit up, but I had this oxygen thing and the cable was caught on something. It was behind me. I couldn't even turn around because I got all the rest of this stuff. And so I'm trying to loosen it up a little bit because it's like tearing into me. And those little nose things, they're hard. The nose things are hard plastic, and it's like ripping into me, and the fucking thing hurt. And she just keeps pushing. And it's like yelled at her to stop. And the cable, and she didn't care that the cable was caught. She just wanted me to sit up. And it's like, I don't need people like that in my world, you know? And there were two others that were similar, but she was the worst. And what was interesting was she was so obnoxious. One of the other nurses came over to me and she brought a little pad to put under my back so I could get comfortable on my side because my back was killing me at that point. And she, she's got her hand on my shoulder and she's patting me and and trying to make me comfortable. She saw that other nurse was just being bitch from hell, and she came over and tried to comfort me. It's like, sorry you had to deal with that. So that was pretty cool. I appreciate it. I didn't like that I got angry, but damn, it's like, can't you see? Are you blind? You can't see these cables are hanging up and you're ripping my face off? It's like, what the hell? So there was that. I don't know. I think that's about it. Some of it chronological, some I jumped around a little bit, but I think that's about it. Dan, I feel best on carnivore diet. It just gets boring and I like veggies, so I can't stick with it. Well, I think what I figured out is that carbohydrates and sugars are basically toxic for me, which is funny because some of my favorite things, I'm pasta, especially, but I played with it a little bit when I was in the first months I was doing the meat thing. And I found that, I mean, it's not like I ate a lot of them, but potatoes didn't seem to have an effect. I could eat a potato, and I would feel the same the next day. If I ate pasta, then I would feel tired. I wouldn't have that energy. So for whatever reason, potatoes don't seem to have the same effect as rice or pasta or other kinds of carbs. So I don't know. This is not qualified information. I'm just telling you what I ran into. I have no idea, no rhyme or reason as to why it was like that for me, or if it's like that for everybody. I have no idea. But that's good because I like potatoes. I would eat an apple once in a while, and that had no effect on me. If I ate a few grapes, that was okay. But if I ate like a bunch of grapes, it had an effect on me. I could tell. I said, that's not good for me, because I could feel the effects, that day or the next day. I could feel the effects, things that I never noticed before. But when you're on meat and it's only meat, meat, dairy, like butter, milk, cheese, any kind of meat, chicken, fish, pork, beef, eggs. So all of those things, eating those things made me feel great with a lot of energy. And I would lose weight without even, I never did it for a diet for weight. I did it because of the inflammation problem that I'd been struggling with. And I saw that that's one of the ways you can control it. And so that's what I went into it for. But I found all these benefits with it. And so I tested some things out. Oh my God. I had a piece of cake during one of those. It had a really sweet frosting. It was a birthday. Oh, have cake. Oh, what the hell? So I had it. I thought I was going to die the next day. Oh my God. If you would think sugar gives you energy, it's like, oh, I can't move. I can't get up. Oh, yeah. It's like, this stuff is not good for me. What else? I did have something sugar. Oh, I had ice cream. That didn't really affect me. But that's, it's mostly cream and I don't know, maybe there's not that much sugar in it, that didn't really seem to affect me, but I just didn't bother with it. So anyway, that was my experience with the meat diet. I will definitely be going back in that direction, but I'll take some of the things that I learned. Um, I'll probably have a potato once in a while. I'll probably have an apple every day or so. Um, I'll probably do more soups than I did before. That's something I can cook up in batch and last me for a couple days. That might make it easier, to stay with it. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, it's I didn't die. I thought heart attacks were like, oh, I have a heart attack. Oh, and then then it goes away. It lasted for me for hours. Is that how it goes? Oh, I looked up. I got a shot of nitroglycerin. That was one of the shots when they were trying to get everything down so that they could take me in for that procedure. Nitroglycerin was one of them. And I had already looked up on Rappi, because what else I got? I got a phone, and nitro. And none of the pharmacies carry it. Like in the US, they have all these, if you had a heart attack, you get these nitro pills. And I just had this image of, well, when it's all done, I'll probably have to carry these with me. And if it happens, I'll have to pop one of these pills under my tongue, because that's what I saw in a movie once, But apparently that's not what they do. They use baby aspirin here. He says, well, in the U.S. they're 80 milligrams, but here they're 100, and you're going to do one a day probably the rest of your life. And they say that it has an immediate effect of basically thinning your blood. And that's one of the big dangers of your blood not being thin enough. All right. So that's the story of that. I'm going to end it here, but I'm not going to end the video. I'm going to keep going because I need to broadcast, but there'll be some dead air, and I'll probably put that game on and see if I can go another 45 minutes. But last thing I'll say to those that are here, look into this Rumble Premium thing. It gives you a lot of access. It takes away advertisements, but I have to have 5 hours broadcasting in Rumble Premium, which means if you're not in it, you'll get shut out. But I won't be doing that with Coffee Time. It'll just be while I'm trying to get the stats so they'll approve me. So there's that. Hopefully that's information that's useful to you. I don't know, but that's it. That's what it is. And now let's see if I can. I'm going to see if I can move on. Thanks a lot, guys. Maybe see you later.